Hey everyone, this is Kobe again from More IT Solutions. Today, wanted to do kind of a follow up to a video that I had mentioned a few weeks back. We went to Muskegon, Michigan to a residence and installed a wireless network for a customer of ours. Um, Basically, this customer had contacted us some weeks back, was stating that they wanted a new wireless system set up in their house. This house, I believe, was about a 5,000 square foot house, between 4,500 and 5,000 square feet. Basically, what they had was Comcast internet. They had just a normal, I believe it was a Netgear router slash modem that was in their upstairs office area, and that wireless could not provide wireless connectivity throughout the entire house. Plus, the house had been cabled with Cat 6 cable throughout the entire house. So almost every room had a Cat 6 network jack wall plate. But the other end of those cables were in the utility room where they had not been terminated into anything. So they were basically just pulled down from the ceiling and just kind of laying there. So he wanted those terminated. He wanted those to be active. He has some kids, grandkids, I believe, that come and visit and wanted a better experience for them getting on the internet than they currently had. So basically, what we did is we had gone to his residence some weeks ago, spoke with him, decided what type of equipment we were going to go with. We went ahead and ordered the equipment and had the equipment for some weeks. We scheduled this out for December 2nd, which was 4 days ago. And on December 2nd, we drove down to Muskegon, got there at about 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and started the install. And I just want to show you some pictures of the install. So here you can see me. This is the utility room. You can see a bunch of electrical wires and network cable. Kind of in front of me there is the rack. It's a 6U enclosed rack for the network equipment. And here's another picture of it here. Right here, I'm running some of the Cat 6 cable and kind of tying it down to make it a little neater than what it currently was before we got there. Here is jack in the upstairs, in one of the bedrooms. Almost each and every one of these network jacks in the wall had coax running to it, and then the Cat 6 cable was terminated to the mod plug and to the wall plate. This one in particular was telephone wire, so this was an RJ11 telephone jack. I told the customer we could go ahead and pull a Cat 6 cable through there if he wanted to. He declined to have that room set up with Cat 6 cable. He said it wasn't important for that room, so we left that one alone. Here's what a lot of the jacks look like in each one of the rooms. As you can see on the left here, two coax connections, and then there's two Cat 6 connections. And as you can see, I've got my meter plugged into the top port, and we were toning out the cables. Basically, you use this Klein tool device. You plug it into one of the ports. You turn it on. You go down. We went down into the utility room, and basically, there's another piece to what's called a WAN that you test the cables and try and get toned to figure out what cable is the one that's going exactly to this port. We had to do that throughout, all of the rooms. And then what we did is we labeled each one of these ports here, had a label right underneath it. So we started with like A1, and then underneath would be like A2, and then every room had a different letter. So the next room was B3, and then B4, and then C5, C6, and so on. Here I am back in the utility room with all the Cat 6 cable. You can see that I took the front door off of the 6U rack, and then I have the Cat 6 patch panel turned around and getting the cable situated to be able to punch the cables down into the patch panel here. And you can see that's what I'm doing here. Got my punch down tool, punching down the cables into the patch panel. And then after I was done punching down all the cables, flip the patch panel back around. And this was kind of like the end result. I will say that I'm not sure who did the cabling in this house, but a lot of these cables were real short. We were worried about some of them even being able to reach the patch panel. So this is kind of a, for some of you guys that are out there that are doing cabling, word of caution: if you're running cable through a house or through a business, obviously more cable is better than less cable. And in this situation, whoever ran this should have ran quite a bit more cable. Even if you had an extra, 5-6 feet of cable, you can always cut the cable down. But if you're too short, it becomes difficult to be able to, reach a certain spot that you need, like here at the patch panel. You don't want to have to like rerun the cable, or what we've seen in the past is putting mod plugs on, which you basically have a connection on each end of a mod plug, where the connector connects into one end and then connects into another end, and then you can extend the cable out longer. That's not, a very good practice to do. We have seen that in some situations at businesses. Luckily, these cables turned out long enough that we were able to punch them all down into the patch panel, so we were kind of happy for that. After the patch panel, we put in the Unify 24 port 250 watt PoE switch, and then underneath that we had the rack mounted cloud key. We ran or installed a Unify ACAP Pro wireless access point. Originally the customer wanted to install it up in between. Here is where a lot of the cabling comes. He wanted to attach it with a cable and just kind of push it back in here, kind of between the ceiling, and I told him that's, obviously not good practice. You're going to get degradation of wireless signal. It's better to be out in the open. So I convinced him to put it in the utility room. We put it on one of the beams. He wanted it kind of far away from the actual network rack, so we went ahead and just mounted it on the beam. Not the most ideal place to put it, but it is what the customer wanted, and sometimes you have to do what the customer wants opposed to what you would like to do as a network installer. Here's a shot of pretty much everything in the rack. So you've got the patch panel at the top, you've got the 24 port switch, you've got the cloud key rack mount device there. Below that is the Unify USG Pro router, and below that is a CyberPower power strip. What's great about this power strip is it has electrical outlets in the front. It's got 6 in the front and 6 in the back. So basically, all this equipment, we just went ahead and plugged them in the back to kind of hide the cables. Down here, we got an Aries. I'm not sure of the model, but it's an Aries modem. The customer originally, like I had said, had a Netgear router slash modem, so we got rid of that, and we went ahead and just got a cable modem. So the modem and the router are separate. We don't like those combos. We've said it in past videos. We don't really like the combination router modem boxes, and in all cases, if we can, we try and separate them. Tell the customer it'd be better off getting just the modem and having a separate router. Same thing with the access points. We don't like the routers, the wireless routers slash modems. These all-in-one boxes. They have their place, but we've seen a lot of issues with them with wireless signal. Not being able to cover an entire house or an entire office or business. So we like to keep them separated. We like to be able to run these types of setups when at all possible. Some of this wiring that you're seeing here, this is the Cat 6 cable that I'm bringing in. You got a couple of power cords. But these cables were just extra cables. These were some of those coax cables that had no ends on them, and the customer just wanted me to kind of lay them to the side, and he was going to go ahead and take care of them himself. We would have liked to have cleaned them up ourselves, but he was pretty persistent with us just leaving them there. Here's another shot. Pretty much finished product here. You've got one cable. This is before I had mounted the wireless access point, so you've got an extra cable kind of dangling here, and the access point I think is sitting on top of the rack while we were testing it. I was walking around the house and just seeing how strong the wireless signal was. Another kind of straight on shot. Yeah, this is right before you could see that I've got the side panel off and the front door is off still, but pretty much this is done right here. And another thing about the patch panel is every port, port 1 on the patch panel goes to port 1 on the switch, port 2 on the patch panel to port 2 on the switch, and so on. We try and keep it in order like that. And then, like I said, when we went and toned out the cables and the ports for each room, we started with A1, A2, B3, B4, C5, C6. So it kind of coincides with the numbering system on the patch panel and the numbering system on the switch. Makes it a lot easier if, say the customer has another technician come in. It's a lot easier for them to be able to come in and kind of figure out and troubleshoot, if there's a problem with one of maybe the wall jacks. They don't have to sit here and tone out all the cables. They could pretty much tell where each cable goes in each room. The customer was given a kind of written down map of, how we had everything labeled, and what he was going to do is he was going to mount that probably right below the rack or somewhere around the rack. So it's just kind of a map that shows where all the ports go and to the house and to the patch panel. So here's a below shot. Again, to the right, you're seeing those coax cables that the customer wanted us to leave. And you can see how high the customer actually mounted this rack. He wanted to do it himself. You can see how high up it was, obviously, to clear the doorway here. He did a pretty good job of mounting it. Here's a kind of face-on view of everything installed. Front door's back on, side door's back on. An above view. And then the final shot with me with the completed network install. Here's a picture, kind of a face-on view of one of the pictures I've already shown, but gives you a good idea of what kind of somewhat of the end result was. Basically, we had a real good time. It took a while. just two of us going around and setting all this stuff up. Luckily, we didn't have to run a bunch of cables and you know, put in wall plates and do that type of stuff. The cables were already run. We just had to basically figure out which cable went where and put all the equipment in and configure everything. Um, but yeah, the install went really good. We're really happy. The customer's happy. We actually, afterwards, when we do these installs, we usually wait like a week, or sometimes we'll contact them in the same week, maybe 3 or 4 days after the install. Shoot them an email, usually, sometimes call, but just to see how everything's going. I did do that today. Haven't heard back from the customer, which can be a good thing. They're not calling back or emailing saying that there's anything wrong. So, um, yeah. So just a quick video to show you what we did this week on an install. We don't, a lot of times the stuff that we're doing is with businesses. It's, very rarely does a customer, like a residential client, want something this kind of elaborate in their house. I mean, I personally think that, it's a good thing to have something like this, especially in a big house like he has. Um, Having a router, like I said, an all-in-one modem and router that doesn't cover the whole house, and you've got cables all over the place, and it's hard to figure out what goes where, and none of the ports and the walls were working, so it was kind of not a mess, but it was an unfinished product, and we were glad to be able to get it all set up for him, and he seemed happy when we left. So anyways, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. And yeah, we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we have new content. Also, if you'd like to know more about us, we have several social media pages: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you would like to hire us for any network consulting or IT needs, please head over to amoritsolutions.com, fill out our contact form, and let us know what we can do to help you out. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for all your support, and we hope to see you in the next video.